Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Today we are back with the championship content and I'm joined by someone I love to watch myself, a championship content creating guru, Benjamin Bloom.
Stop it. You're quite the guru yourself, Matt, but thank you for having me on. Looking forward to catching up.
Yeah, me too. Have you been all right?
Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. I think I just got over Christmas, but I don't know. I live in a constant state of lethargy. I shouldn't be at the moment because we're in FA Cup third round, so Championship lays off for a little while. I had a look at February. That looks fun, Matt. I think there's two,
Yeah.
3 game weeks in February. So
Yeah,
ask me at the end of Feb, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking as well with February, some of the games that have been called off over Christmas, I think they're getting rescheduled for around then. So it's going to be chaos,
Yeah.
which is what we love. I'll dive straight in then with the FA Cup games. Obviously, it's just been the FA Cup weekend. How do you feel the championship teams did? 12 of the 24 went through, and there was a couple of upsets.
Not too bad, was it? I thought the FA Cup, just by the way, not championship specific. I thought the FA Cup was brilliant this weekend.
Yeah.
I normally get a little bit kind of here we go, FA Cup. Everyone's going to rest a load of players and, teams at the top of the championship are just not going to bother. And, it'll be fairly predictable. But whilst all that's going on, all the top teams in the Premier League will still get through. But I thought it was really, really decent. Obviously, the big ones to look at, Forest beating Arsenal was fantastic, and broadcast on ITV on the Sunday night. Wigan beating Blackburn. I mean, it's not a massive upset, local derby, but Blackburn obviously doing so well in the Championship. Blackpool going under to Hartlepool. I didn't expect that one. Huddersfield winning at Burnley. I've given up on trying to predict anything to do with Huddersfield. They just mugged me off continually. But I guess the standout one is Reading losing to Kidderminster. Not good. I'm sure your Reading subscribers were not happy yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we can come on to Reading later when we look at the championship table, but for one-off results, no matter what you're doing in the league, that is a atrocious scoreline, isn't it? To lose to Kidderminster, and that's no disrespect to Kidderminster, but the 6th tier of English football, Reading shouldn't lose to them.
You wouldn't have thought so, no. And you say one-off, but we all know with Reading that there's been the FFP problems earlier in the year. There's players off at AFCON. The manager's under pressure. We know they've got to cut the cost by the end of the season. There's a ton of players out of contract. They didn't need to go out to Kidderminster, did they? Given all of that narrative around it.
Absolutely. We've seen the draw for the next round now. There's some interesting ones. Forest, who've obviously knocked out Arsenal, have now got Leicester. There's also Manchester City versus Fulham. I think you said that could be, by the time it comes round, the top of the top 2 divisions going head to head. You've also got Man United or Villa playing Middlesbrough, so maybe room for some more upsets.
I hope so. We've just annoyed all the Bournemouth fans, though. This is predicated on Fulham having games in hand at the top of the table, of course. But we do salute Bournemouth, who are currently top of the table. I don't know. It feels like less of a potentially upsetty round, doesn't it? We're all going to be looking at Kidderminster versus West Ham, but West Ham are a different level to Kidderminster. But in terms of championship stuff, you'd expect Bournemouth to get through against Boreham Wood, but they've been fantastic. Huddersfield, Barnsley, I know both sets of fans. No one wants a team in the same division, do they? They all want to either go to Spurs, Arsenal and Man United and make a boatload of cash, or have a nice home tie like Bournemouth have got against Boreham Wood. But yeah, I like the one you picked out, Forest, Leicester and Stoke. Wigan should be good as well. I'd imagine the away end will be full down at Stoke there, and that should be a good one too.
Yeah. We'll move on to the championship then. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Ben. Obviously, it's been predictably unpredictable this season as per usual, but I'm going to ask you to pick one standout team for you so far this season.
You can't look past Blackburn being second at 25 games, can you? I mean, I don't know where you had Blackburn in your pre-season predictions, but I bet you didn't have them second, Matt, did you? And it's been one of those. We had it with Barnsley last year where, they have an impressive win and then they've won 3 on the trot and then you're like going, okay, fine. Stop in a minute, boys. And then they've won 8 on the trot, and you're like, what is going on here? And it's the same with Blackburn at the moment. I think they've won 9 in 12, and obviously the Chilean sensation up front is on a lot of teams' shopping list. We should, of course, give out a shout to Huddersfield, but Huddersfield are just annoying me because they just make a fool of me every single week. I'm like, okay, it's gone on long enough. They've not spent any money. They've got a rookie manager. We didn't expect them to be here, and they keep on winning. So Blackburn would be my standout, but you got to give props to Huddersfield for mugging the likes of me off week on week. No disrespect to Huddersfield, I just didn't expect them to be there, and they've well outperformed what I think even their own fans would have suspected.
Yeah, I'd fully agree with that, especially those two, because you think last season they're both in the bottom half, and especially Huddersfield Town. I think they finished 20th last season, so stumbled over the line. I think they were lucky it was a low tide last season, but massive push on this season. Full credit to them. I like these kind of stories where, a bit like Barnsley, they just survived and then they pushed on to make the playoffs and surprised everyone. So that leads into my next question about the playoff race. Do you think we could get a Blackburn, Huddersfield, a Coventry, a couple of these teams which we didn't expect get in there come the end of the season?
Possibly. Probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, before this crazy Blackburn run and before the Omicron wave and all the postponements, I was very much, right, we know who the top three is going to be. It's going to be Bournemouth, West Brom and Fulham. And probably QPR are probably going to finish in the playoffs, was where I was. And I thought it was an open door for two teams, like you say, possibly a Coventry, a Blackburn or a Huddersfield coming from, sort of further back. I don't know, Millwall put a run together, something like that. Since then, obviously, Blackburn's form's been ridiculous, and they've split the top three, haven't they? And both Bournemouth and Fulham dropped off, and now we've got the postponements. However, I look now and I look at Middlesbrough, Stoke and Forest, and I see three big clubs. Sorry for people who don't like that term, but you stick a better one in the comments for me. By championship resources, three big clubs, all on the edge there. And we'll talk about your boys in a minute, but they've kind of slipped out of that race a little bit now, haven't they? You would still imagine that a Middlesbrough and a Forest, particularly given the trend, could get above the Huddersfield. But Blackburn, Matt, Blackburn have got 46 points and they've got 21 games left. And I'm looking at 75-ish points. Blackburn will have to be quite bad now to not get in the playoffs, given that's where we've got to with them. And we don't want to see it, but it would take 2 points in 6 games or something for everyone else to catch up. So Blackburn have got a really good chance of getting in there or even higher. So someone's going to be missing out. But it's certainly, I don't know how you feel, it's certainly changed narrative for me in the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes. I think what's brilliant about this championship playoff race is it seems to go down to the bottom half. And I think you've got to keep your eye on as well. There's so many games in hand for certain teams. So Sheffield United, I suppose, aren't out of it. I knew you were
going to say Sheffield United,
Luton Town, I mean, I'm listing all the teams here, but they've all got so many games in hand. And I think you can see potential in some teams. It's just about getting that consistency, which is what some teams are struggling to do. At the moment, obviously, Huddersfield and Blackburn have found the consistency. And I think it's on with Blackburn as well. They only have to probably be okay now to finish in the top 6. Like you said, they probably have to go below a point per game or so. A point per game. I don't know what that they take them to.
67.
So they need just above a point per game.
Yeah.
And from there, Blackburn I think look pretty good, and Huddersfield in the mix. But like I say, I think January and February are crucial for the playoff race because everyone will play those games in hand, and then no one's in any false positions. Everyone can be like, right, this is where we are. Moving on to the bottom 6 battle, also very interesting this season. It does seem to be a bottom 6 at the moment because there's a bit of a gap between, I think, 18th and 19th. Ben, thoughts?
Well, Barnsley have been masked by Derby's points deduction, haven't they? And look, let's make it completely plain. We loved Barnsley last season. They were magnificent to finish 5th, but they've just been awful this season, haven't they? To have 14 points at 24 games. And, okay, they got a win in the FA Cup, but they won 5-4 against Barrow. And obviously, I'm an Ipswich fan, if your subscribers don't know, so I've got no strength to talk about teams losing to Barrow in the FA Cup. But, yeah, you would have wanted a nice, comfortable win if you're a Barnsley fan. Look, they've got a lot to do to get to, I always say 45 to survive. That's a long way. Peterborough just can't win away, can they? If Peterborough can win an away, won one away game, haven't they? But if they can get some points away from home, but look, Peterborough are not going to stay up with their current away form. They'd have to be so good at home that it would be a weird disparity. Reading's a worry, isn't it? Reading have really got to manage this well in terms of, do they just say, right, we cannot lose players between now and the end of the season? Or do they try and be clever if they get a bid for John Swift or whoever in the January window? I think Cardiff will be all right. Hull depends on the takeover. If there's no chaos there, it should be okay. And then you've just got this weird outlier with Derby having the points deduction at the bottom. But if you add the 21 on to Derby, they'd be up in 13th or something. So I keep saying with Derby, look, ask me in 10 games time, ask me in 10 games time, ask me in 10 games time. It still would be miraculous for them to get even near, because if it is 45 to survive, then they need to get the number you just said that Blackburn would get with sort of 67 across the season to stay up. But I don't see any other teams down there playing as well as Derby are. So long and the short of it is I worry for Reading, and I don't see too much else moving otherwise.
No, I agree. I think it's been this way for a few weeks now. Peterborough 22nd, Barnsley 23rd, Derby 24th, and the three above are just in their own little bubble. I think what I'm starting to lean towards this season, I don't know if you agree, is I think there will be a low tide this season. It's something we've touched on before when I think there's points deductions for a couple of teams down there, obviously Derby and Reading. And when you've got Barnsley being as bad as they are, and then Peterborough, their away form, I think you've got a few reasons for why there could be a low tide. I think maybe the low 40s could be enough.
I agree.
I think looking at it, Cardiff City, out of the six, you'd think they've got the most with Collins and Moore. They've got enough goal power in there, even if they're not having a great season. Hull City have kind of relied on that little good run they had in the first half of the season, because they're just sort of bobbling along now in about 18th or 19th place. But Derby County, for me, are the talking point. I mean, would it be the greatest escape ever if they do it?
Yeah, oh God, absolutely. Yeah, literally, we all sat here and in August, they're definitely going to get relegated. Then they got the first deduction. Oh, well, that, you may as well stop the season now. Then they got the second deduction and you're like, oh, yeah, come on, end it here. So, look, they've got to get through January. It would be amazing for the Derby fans if they could get an approved buyer, even announced, with a commitment to buy it before the window, gets a bit gnarly, because the longer it goes, the administrators might have to then cash in on a few players, and that would finish it off, I'm afraid, for Derby if they had to sell a few players. But the feeling is, if they keep the current team and they don't get too far, off this run they're on at the moment, like you say, someone could survive with like 42 points or something this season, or lower, if it's as bad as we think it might be down the bottom. So yeah, it would be sensational. But look, there's a lot of story to go in terms of Derby, and I don't know how you feel, but they're only ever a couple of games away from me going, oh no, it's going to be impossible. Do you know what I mean? A couple of defeats, and I'm like, nah, it's too much to ask.
Yeah, I agree, because I think before that 3-game winning run they just had, I think they'd had a defeat or two in there before, and I was kind of the opinion that, well, that's it now. And then they win a few games, it's, oh, okay, and then they lose another one, oh, that's it. So,
I've said that's it now about 10 times already about Derby, so they're still fighting, they're still punching, aren't they?
I know. It's brilliant, though, for neutrals to look at that and say, it'd be a great story, unless maybe you're a Forest fan or something. And that leads on to actually their next couple of games, Sheffield United and Forest. That is two massive games. I mean, they're both tough because you consider the form they're in. So January will be a crucial month, like you say, with the transfer business as well. Finally, Ben, Coventry City, obviously my team. I want to see your opinions, because obviously a lot of people watch that are Coventry City fans. Obviously, you've touched on before, we had a great start to the season. It's fallen off a bit. We've still got a few games in hand, so our season could still have a very exciting ending.
Yeah, the thing with Coventry is, if you take it big picture, where Coventry have come from, what's happened, where they were even at the end of last season, Coventry are doing brilliantly, if you take it big picture. If you wind back to about October, when there was that ludicrously good home run and Gyökeres was scoring every single week and Coventry were in fourth for a while, you can kind of, understand people maybe being a little bit disappointed that playoff picture we've just said they've dropped now down to 10th, and given, Middlesbrough with Wilder have got a thing going and Forest with Cooper, and they've kind of let them in ahead. You're right about the games in hand. I did think that, look, you can't base a season on winning 6 home games out of 7. It's amazing and it's fantastic, and especially with the story around that stadium and it reopening back up, and I'm sure you were there at all the games. But you know how it is, Matt. It's got to be viable, boring consistency to have a promotion challenge, and not winning all your home games and not being quite so good away from home. So I do think there was going to be a regression to the mean. I know that's easy to say with hindsight, isn't it? But look, where were Coventry when we came out of that last international break? And I remember that game away at Rotherham. They had to beat Rotherham, didn't they? And I think Ostigard scored and they had a brilliant end to the season. They were in serious relegation trouble. So when you think about the climb under Mark Robbins, and for them to be in the top half, anywhere in the top half in the Championship, is really, really good big picture improvement. But I know what you football fans are like. I know what any fans are like. If you're up there in 4th, you don't want to be 10th now, I know. But yeah, I think there's a good thing going, and I think big picture it's good for Coventry. Would you agree?
I would. I'm trying to leave my bias at the door, Ben. I think that, I did expect a little drop off. I didn't expect the home form to carry us all the way through the season. What I do hope will balance out, though, is that away form does improve. I'm not saying I want the home form to keep plummeting. I want, a few more wins in there. But if you can start winning away and just balance it out to be mid-table in both sections, say if we're 6th in the home table and mid-table in the away table, then you could be in around 9th and 10th. And who knows? If we don't battle for the playoffs this season, it's still been an encouraging start.
5th, Matt, 5th in the home table, 22nd in the away table. It's too big a disparity, isn't it?
Exactly. You're going to struggle for consistency if you do that. But like I say, a big January coming for us. Hopefully we can bring in 1 or 2 players, maybe just loan signings. We haven't got the biggest budget, but it'll be a big ending to the season. Thank you for...
Sorry, Matt, the deal for O'Hare as well is good news.
That's a signing in itself, Ben. That is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like signing a new player as far as I'm concerned. Callum O'Hare, potential-wise, is one of the best in the league, creative-wise. Thank you for coming on today, Ben. Give me a plug for your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Championship stuff like watch-alongs and reviews and previews and whatnot. Joyously, I have a 5-month-old baby now, so I'm not quite as many games as I used to be in the past. So the channel's more, reviews and previews, like I said. But yeah, just Benjamin Bloom football channel. If you're a Coventry fan and you're following Matt or a fan of any Championship team, then probably similar sort of stuff, but always good to get a different view, isn't it? So yeah, go and subscribe, and then at Benjamin Bloom on Twitter and various other social medias that I don't update as often as I should.
That's it. Yeah, go get stuck involved, guys. I'll drop his link in the description. So do check him out. And thank you for coming on today, Ben.
Pleasure.